That tree there, I can kind of remember growing up.
Had love curves.
Yeah. First thing with a raft style or any kind of material, you want to look for the front of the tree, right? Front. This particular material here is different from looking at a single tree. I'm looking at a tree to use as a forest. Tell them what let's see. When I look at this particular tree, first I'm looking for the front, or the top. There we go. My idea is to raise this up. And this particular tree has three coming from the base. So I'm going to run this up because this is going to be number 3 trees. Number 3, because it has a good left branch. You know, in the forest, you always work with a tree on the outside. Then the tree on this side has a branch to the right. Then the rest of the trees have the back branches. And since this is going to be the number 1 tree because it's larger, I'm going to run the number 2 tree, which is this one, kind of like behind it or in front of it when I ring this up. So this is going to be wired up first. I've kind of worked it a little bit to soften it. So I have it almost in the position I want. It's like a 90 already. Now I have to wire this one to figure out where I'm going to put it next to this tree. But I'll probably put it right next to this, right here.
So he's bent it several times to get it so it doesn't just snap when he's bending it. He's worked it a few times.
I've cut the base a little bit with a sickle. I don't know where it went, but, it's all attached at the base here. So we're going to work with this. This is almost in the right position. This one's going to cover out here. Now when you wire larger branches like this, you do not want to wire the tree tight with a large wire. I know we're on to the wiring the wire real tight to the trunk or the branch. I've learned that if you wire real loose, when you bend it, it will not choke up on the tree, on the branch. So the looser the wire and the large wire. Don't go small. Always go a little larger. Right?
Yep. Always a little bit larger.
Always a little larger. I know.
Too small doesn't do the job.
So we got a 90 on this one now, which isn't too bad. I don't know if I should run this on the outside. Probably the outside. This is up.
So will you attach your wires from here to the others?
No, I will wire it.
Individual wires.
Yeah, I will wire it. First thing we have to do is scrape it. And this, I've decided that this is going to be the bottom of the raft where the tape is, the white masking tape.
These are where the roots are going to develop, where he's scraping the bark off.
You just scratch it or dig in deep?
He's taking off all the bark that's past the cambium there, all the way down to hardwood. And then he'll put some root tone on it or some.
I have root tone here. Usually when I do this particular demo, I pre-wire this at home. So you guys are getting the basic start, which is
Hey Glenn, what kind of tree is this?
Yeah, this is isn't this Leyland cypress, I believe?
Yes.
Yes, Leyland cypress. It's nice because it's got a lot of branches on it that can be brought up into the raft forest. So Mel's anchoring his wire there around the base. And then, as they always tell us, not too tight, not too loose.
Or the word is, teacher, read my book.
Yeah. Didn't you read my book? That's what John always said. You know, the basics of wiring, where he started around the bottom there, and then the two ends are going to go to different branches, bend them. He's already flexed it where he wants it to bend, so it'll bend a little bit easier, supported by the wire. There are a lot of different stock trees that you can use for a raft like this, though, too. This is nice because it has a lot of branches, but elms can do it. The banana junipers that are going to be used in the workshop back there are really good. A lot of us have landscaped with them, and they actually ground layer all by themselves in your yard, so you can just go out there and pick up a branch, and it's already got a lot of roots on it. But what he's showing here is by scraping the bark and then burying it, it will root in those areas. And then eventually this big giant root ball here gets cut off. Yep, not too tight, not too loose.
Did you read my book?
Yes. And he's taking it all the way out directly to the end.
Does it matter the order in which you bend them?
Does it matter in which order you bend them, Mel?
You mean number 3 tree, number 2?
Yeah.
You mean like that?
Looks to me like it's whichever is easiest to get to first, huh?
Oh yeah, wiring wise? Yeah. Yeah. You know, I don't give it much thought, I guess. I just wire.
So this style is basically a forest, but it's coming off of the same base here. It's like a tree that fell over in the forest and rooted in the ground. And then all of these small ones come up to create new trees, a new forest. I used to see Mel out there digging California junipers, and he had this, was it a 3-wheeler or a 4-wheeler?
I've used everything from a dune buggy to Jeep,
This
a
crazy guy
motorcycle,
come over
quad.
the hill.
Yeah, I've tried everything except a donkey. I've tried everything.
Yeah. It looked like he was a moving tree on top of a
Yeah, that's a good old days.
3-wheeler. That was fun. It was like an Easter egg hunt. He always knew something was just over the next hill.
Unless we forget.
So that's going to be the first tree in the group,
Yeah, number 3.
number 3.
Now, you know, when you wire, real important is to anchor the wire. You know, where you start off. My number 6 is only this long, and I need about 2 more feet. And I don't.
There's some number 6 back on the table.
There
Is there?
is?
Yeah,
Oh,
that would be wonderful.
You're a sweetie pie. There is? Wow. How nice.
What are you going to do with the other branch that you wired it to? It looks like it's flat.
This one down here,
Yes.
he's going to bring that up too.
Yeah, that's number 2 tree.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have 3 different sizes. That's number 2, and I haven't really decided where to put it because I have to bend number 1 first. And we'll bring it in either on the inside or the outside.
Is that enough?
Wow, thank you.
If not, we'll get more.
So do you scrape where your screws are going to go before you start wiring and bending?
We scraped already.
You do that first. That's the first
Yes.
thing you do before you bend and
You
wire.
can do it between the wines, of course, and I usually end up doing that because when I look at the tree, I get excited and I start wiring the tree and start bending the branches. And I forget to do the scraping part. This is the first time I probably scraped it first. But you know, I usually do femina and procumbens nanas, and those things work really easy. So you know, I don't really worry about scraping it. And another thing I do is, like this branch here, this one here, and this one here. Now if you scrape, when I lay it down where it's scraped, these branches here turn into branches. Roots. So if you can imagine, when laying it down, taking the branches and turning them sideways so they come out like roots. On a good bonsai, rootage is real important, number 1. Then your trunk, and then your branches. So if you have roots on this forest here, or this raft, it's going to improve it that much more.
Yeah, so not only will he get roots off of the area he scraped, but these little tiny ones right here will root too and really give the tree some stability. He was going down through the root ball to try to get a really secure spot to put the wire so that it'll stick and anchor when he wires the. Need a big old nail. This is about where you run out to the garage looking for it and you wonder why you're in the garage.
This is why I do most of this stuff at home.
So he's still trying to find a good deep spot on this root ball to anchor the wire. This is what's going on here. And for once, we're not really worried about these roots down here because they're all going to be developed up here. So he doesn't care about those. There you go. The direction of the wind compared to the So Mel's getting nice 45-degree angles on the wiring there. It's nice and neat. Doesn't vary. Aesthetically, it looks good. And if this was copper wire, it would really be tough.
So the one on the end always be the second one that would work?
Say that again?
Would the one on the far end always be the second one that you would work?
Not necessarily. It just depends on where he was kind of getting these out of the way. But he could have started with that one. Yes. Mel, time of year better than any other?
Springtime,
Springtime probably better, when it might root easier, but still it's got all this root ball to support it here, so it'll make it okay. Well, he used that whole roll, Nancy. He used that whole roll of,
Does he need more?
no.
Okay.
Okay, he's almost out to the tip of it now. You notice he's using the gin pliers to stabilize while he's wiring. A whole lot easier to have something strong like that rather than your fingers trying to hold it. That comes the bend. The wire is on the outside of the bend to keep it from breaking.
Oh, yeah.
bringing number 2 in between the 3.
Yeah. So that's what Mel was deciding, was the position of the main trunk kind of dictates where the position of the smaller trunks would be. So he's got this main trunk bent there, and now bringing the, was this number 2?
Yeah, number 1 is that little, number 3 is that little guy.
Okay, number 3 was the little guy.
Uh-oh. Number 3 is short, number 1 is shorter. Well, this cut number 2 a little shorter, that's
Yeah.
okay.
He wants number 1 to be the tallest tree, obviously, because it's got the thickest trunk on it. The number 3 needs to be shortened, number 2. And then you just bring up another.
Yeah. Okay, do you see this branch right here? Off the number 2, this is number 2 tree. This branch here. Now, if you can imagine that being a part of the rootage, and it will be part of the rootage, it's right here. This is going to go into the ground. And this too. So on the front of the tree, I'm going to use all these little branches here as rootage.
So do you cut any of the foliage off for rootage, or you just bury these?
Yeah, just bury it.
He just buries them.
Okay. Now what we're going to do, we have to wire all these guys, so it's going to be a little bit of a chore. Okay, I wired that before I get to this part.
Mel's saying he needs to wire all of the branches on these trunks.
Is that gonna trim off any of those side branches that are going underground?
No, he said he'll leave any of these that are going underground. You're just going to leave them like that,
Right.
and then they will root.
Turn into roots.
But what he's saying is all of these.
They work that way on Femina and Percumbens nanas. I'm not too familiar with this type of material, but it's even if it doesn't take, they'll have the looks of a root. So,
Yeah.
you know, when traveling to White Mountain to see the ancient bristle pines, they have rootage coming out of the side of the tree. They just kind of corkscrewing out. If you ever been up there to look at those trees, it's amazing. Okay, I'm gonna trim some of this stuff. And we're gonna go up with this.
So Mel's choosing his primary branches, or actually these will be roots right
Yeah,
there.
we're gonna use these. Take out a few.
Cleaning some of these.
Right.
Going to take a few off.
I wanted to scrape this one.
So he gets to scrape this one after the fact.
Number 2 tree.
Those branches that are pretty big ones, that he's putting underground, leave those back at all.
Are you going to cut any of these branches back that are going to go under the ground?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit.
He's going to cut them back somewhat, yeah. Doing cleanup there. He's scraping the bark on this one now too, on number 2. He's just going up to where the wire wraps in each section. Yeah, those are the ones you were asking about, Lynn, the long ones. They're being shortened quite a bit. If you read the book, sometimes rather than scraping, there would be cuts made up into the bark held away from the trunk with maybe a pebble or something where it would root. The way Mel's doing it gives the whole area there that could root out though.
You ever do a demo with Harry?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
You had to be a mind reader.
Yeah.
Good old Harry. Harry used to come here every one of his birthdays.
Oh, really?
Harry Harrell came here for a demo, yeah. Everybody always enjoyed him.
What is wrong here?
That's the trick we all have to do with the wiring, is you don't want to cross your wires, so you've got to follow in the same direction as the bigger wire with the smaller wire.
It's not working today. I gotta wire this guy. How come? Right? It goes this way.
Yeah. So this variety looks like it requires a lot of wiring of primary and secondary branches. This is going to become another small tree coming off of it, off of the main trunk. So you're going to have different sizes. We've got 3 basic root sizes, 1, 2, and 3 here. And now Mel's wiring a smaller one that will come up as a smaller trunk. Is there any number that you're looking for on number of trunks, or just depends on the tree, Mel?
Usually I try to wire every branch, even if it's on the bottom of the tree. I've done it where 2 or 3 years later, the person that won the demo tree comes back to class. This was in Santa Barbara, and we got 3 different group plantings out of it. So I cut it out and put 3 together.
Can we spin that around and show them what the... So he's wired, oops, excuse me. He's wired, this one will become another trunk coming off of this, the main one. You want to keep it up there?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to visualize right now, but it'll all come together and you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed. You know, I was at the convention last week in Sacramento, and I always like to try take something that's a little different. I was a vendor, and I had an X1 of these. And I just took it up there and put an outrageous price on it, and somebody bought it. Amazing.
Well, that's an antique though, right?
Kind of, yeah.
You notice how he's kept this root ball, there's plastic around it, it's kept damp, there's no harm to these roots right now being out of the pot while he's doing all of this. And then when it's in the box, half of it's going to be sticking up, so that plastic will also help retain the moisture. Yes.
Are you looking for an odd number of trunks?
I think generally, yeah, it goes along with the same idea as a forest, where you would want an odd number. And then there are certain numbers that are better than others. From what I understand, I've seen 7s and 11s and 5s, and what is 9 bad luck or something, or 4. So there are certain numbers that are better than others.
That's Mr. Mori.
Yeah. Maury, what's a lucky number? How many trunks?
Unlucky number.
Yeah. What's
Are you
bad?
a Sansei? No? Kibe? Kibe Nisa? Were you born here? Huh?
He doesn't.
What do you say? 7? I'm out of
I
here.
thought he said he couldn't remember.
Oh,
4 is death.
Okay, 4 is death, so we don't want to be.
Son, she, she dies, looks like death.
Yeah. Well, it's also even too, so we don't want to do 4 at all. Don't even think about it. So everything's leaning this way, but that's going to end up being upright like this. Somebody can wire all these secondary branches, right?
yeah.
When they win.
Let's mount it on the thing. The whole thing with this demo on the raft is, it was always understood that you get it inside of a box. And that's where it changed. I changed it. So we worked on the bottom of the box.
So Mel's got the box without the sides, and laying it down on that then, I guess. What do you need?
Saw.
Roots that are going towards the base, he's just cutting off.
Yeah, I want to save that one root there. I'm going to cut it underneath it. So this much of it is going to come off. This much of it, okay?
Like putting the lady in the box, huh?
No, this is real.
Yeah. Ah. Yeah, he's right up against the side of the trunk on that side it's going to lay down. And he saved this to bring it around. Cool.
Okay. Now another thing with this particular demo is that most of the rafts are done in line, straight. Now the ideal way, if you're going to do a forest with individual trees, they're always in an arch, right? To make it look better. The trees are all in line. The trouble with this particular tree, it doesn't have a lot of branches where I can use it. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It only has, so far, 4. We got to come up with 5. And that baby's right here. So we're doing good. I'm going to mount it. I'm not going to get much of an arch in it like I'd like. You know, when we do the workshops today, that material will bend. I mean, we can go all over the world with that thing. So on this particular piece of material, we're just going to get a little bit of a bend. Let's see.
Forget the rooting powder.
Oh yeah. Okay, we need need somebody.
You gotta make a paste of that, he said, or powder.
You're gonna make what?
He's got the family size root tone here.
Yeah.
It lasts a while.
Came from Costco.
Costco. We got a cup here, I guess. Is that good? Is that gonna be better or what?
Yeah, that'd be good. Either way, you're gonna put it on anyway.
Well, heck,
Dr. Jensen. We'll just do it this way.
okay.
You usually put a little root tone on it. I mean, a little upper dust, but it's okay. That way, we'll do it in class.
I guess just about any kind of brush.
This is the only one I got.
Is that right?
Looks good to me. Good. What do you think?
Yeah, looks good. Got a good heavy layer of root tone on it. So Mel's positioned it on the board, and now he's going to drill a hole on the inside of it to hold it, to anchor it to the board, using the just the electrical ties.
Oops.
There you go.
Is it up?
Yep. Kind of pull it good and tight on, anchor it on the board. Okay.
Right here in the middle, so I get an arch. There.
Yeah, so he's trying to get a little bit of a curve. See the beginnings of the forest now with the main trunks. Wire cutter? Oh yeah, the loose ends come off.
Okay, a lot of these branches like this, you can hold it with a guide wire onto the frame here. So it's,
So he's got it nice and tight on that board now, and then that's where some of these small branches that are coming out from the base are going to root. When in doubt, leave a little bit.
yeah.
Can I tell a story about Mel?
Oh, please.
Mel may not remember, but it goes back, it's got to go back more than 26 years. Mel did a demo of rafts at the South Coast Botanic Gardens in Falls Rivers. And he did this moving box, which he's going to show you today and everything. Anyway, I was lucky to win that one. And it was a beautiful juniper. I ended up adding, because the trees popped up, and I added a couple more trees to it. Kept that thing, and then about 10 years ago, at a California Bonsai convention, I ended up using it as a refined demo of Mel's original demo. And it was raffled off then, and it was worth several $100s. So you never know what's going to happen, but it goes way back. I think it was when Mel first started doing a raft demonstration. You remember that?
No.
South Coast
I've done
Botanic Gardens, and it was Ben Suzuki was then the
Oh, that's way back,
yeah, that's it. Way back.
way back. You know, I've done this, the only other workshop I've done with this raft was at Shohi. I can't remember how long ago. I did a Shohin workshop with a raft, so it was kind of interesting. It's my first one since then. That's been a long time ago.
Well, I should have dug out the pictures.
Harry would say, "Oh, you a baby, Mel."
I wish I was a baby, boy, I tell you. But you know, I grew up in the bonsai era, both of us, Len and myself, seeing the masters that we've known. Simply amazing that at this time, you know, people don't realize what they missed if they didn't have the pleasure of meeting John. That's, yeah.
Lynn had the pleasure, though, of John, too. If you asked a dumb question of John, look at him. It was like read the book. So you can see the beginnings of the forest there with the way he's placing these. he's shortening some of those branches that'll become roots.
How long before the roots will be established enough to take the existing ball off?
You hear that?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this material, but.
Well, answer for a Nana or when they.
Oh, Nana, how fast the roots? Oh, within a year on Nana.
And then you can
Plus,
take
they can cut
the
this
big
Oh,
ball.
this. You know, there's several ways of doing this. You can leave this here. I've seen my dad take 2 1-gallons or 5 gallons, put them against each other, and he'll bring up a branch in the middle of this with a chopstick. You just bring it up, and the mound won't be as high, but you can use them, keep the mound under. You can use it like a rolling hill. So there's several ways of doing this without cutting this off.
Okay.
So, there's a lot of ways of doing this. You can take 2 opposing ones and make one a little lower, and bring it up, another branch. You just gotta use your head. You take a saw and cut a notch in it and bring it in there. So if it had more branches like the nanas do, you can do a lot of different things. You can plan on it. I always wanted to do one where it was going downhill and coming back up on a rock. But to find a rock is the job. I mean, I could do it by putting rocks together. It's one of my dreams to do, but the right demo has to appear. I mean,
So Mel, this tree keeps wanting to go back. Did you say you could anchor it to the
Yeah.
wall then? You just,
No, we,
oh, to the board?
Yeah, to the
I see.
board.
So he would anchor to another spot to the board?
yeah, you guide wire. Not much of a guide wire person, but sometimes you have to do it. How are we doing on time?
11:50.
Where's the boss? How are we doing on time?
We're at 11:52 right now.
11:52, and we have until
Noon.
Sun goes
till
down.
noon.
11:52? Noon?
We gotta be trucking here.
Okay. Okay.
May I ask why you're deciding not to use the sides of the box?
He's gonna put the size of the box on later, but right now, it makes it so much easier to not be working inside of a box.
You have until 12:30, not noon.
Oh, okay, we got
You got time.
all kinds of time. Yeah, so it's just a matter of simplifying, working on it. I think the boxes back there for the workshop are already assembled.
Can you tell us why this implies represent wire?
No, why the tires instead of, these instead of wire?
Why?
Easy?
Easy to
Yeah,
get.
they're way easier. Way easier, and, but you're still gonna need a good wire cutter to cut these big wires off. Yeah, it's just easier, especially when you're doing it by yourself. I've been to different demos, and I'm thinking ahead of what the person's helped me do stuff, and it's way easier for me. Okay, I'll get this one.
Yeah, the plastic will be easier to remove from the bottom too. Those ties are so great. He still wants to get some bends in these so that there's some curves. So he's going to pull this one out a little bit, the tie.
So the ties are in the soil. So how do you?
They're going all the way through the box, to the bottom of the box. Yes,
Right.
they are
So
in the
how do
soil.
you know when to remove the ties so that, assumedly, everything grows?
When to remove them? When you when it roots. When it roots,
And you don't care after that?
yeah, it should be stable.
So poking around a little bit too, I think, seeing for roots.
In a second, you'll see what I'm talking about here.
Oh, it's in a board, so about right here. Yeah, just something to tie it to. Like, so I'm doing a little bit of rough trimming just to get that triangular outline and cutting out the numbers of branches.
In a second here, we'll be able to tilt it and show you what we've done. Just a matter of seconds here. Get an idea of what's going on here?
How many trees are there?
We're gonna have 5. See this little guy here? Right here. Okay. I haven't been looking at the front, I've been looking at the back of the tree, so I gotta turn it around, get a better view here.
anchoring a smaller wire to do that smaller trunk.
Uh-huh, yeah, exactly. And that's why it's scrape the bottom. Yeah. And then the rooting.
Just like a single formal upright, like what Michael was doing over here, is you have a really heavy branch up here, it's got to go. You want to get finer and finer branches as you go to the top. So he just took one off completely there.
And did he make the wood pieces in the box? Does he make that on his own, or do you purchase that?
I'm pretty sure that, the question, did you make this box?
I made this
Yeah.
box.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. Any wood preference, or just whatever you can get? Wood preference?
It's cedar.
Cedar.
Wood? Yeah.
Okay.
It's just redwood fencing.
Gotcha. Yeah.
You can use plywood or anything you can.
Okay, doke. But cedar works pretty good. Cedar fencing.
Cedar looks real good.
Perfect.
I still have my collected trees in cedar boxes.
Cool.
So they're not all lined up in one straight line. There's some depth to this between the different trunks.
What's gonna happen to that branch that's laying over the root balls?
That's laying over the roof ball.
Yeah,
Big
that,
one. The large one.
What's going on with it?
yeah.
You need to complete the triangle. You need a branch out here. I'm leaving it kind of long, kind of to hide the root ball.
That's,
And you usually
But
don't.
it'll stay there after the root ball comes off too. It's the first branch.
this side.
Just some rough trimming here, but eventually Mel would wire up almost all these primary branches and secondary branches together. So lots of wiring still to be done. You put that in a bonsai tray right here, it's going to look pretty nice.
Very nice.
doing okay, or?
Yeah, we've got 20 minutes or so.
He's the one who's up next. It's his.
Oh, yeah.
He's following himself, so.
Oh, yeah. Your workshop is coming up next, so
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
don't cool down.
Right. Yeah. 12:30.
I have no idea how quickly the wire would cut into this type of tree. Some trees more than others. They say an elm would cut in pretty quickly. Those nano junipers will be very forgiving.
Yay.
Bothering you too.
Thank you.
So wiring 101 here. Fine wire not crossing the larger wires all the way. The way we all learn is not to cross, keep looking. But whoever wins this is going to take it home and do all the rest of the wiring, right?
There you go. That's a great idea.
branches entirely over the lower branch, they're all spread out around. Yeah. Cut that off. You got the soil?
Yeah. I wire a little bit more on this guy and a little bit more on this one.
So you can do a little bit more wiring in the branches on this one and put the soil in.
Much of it.
Or, yeah.
We're going to go ahead and feel free to go back and get some food, and we'll let Mel keep working here. Go ahead and get some food, and then we'll do the standard raffle here in a few minutes. Thanks.
But then once
How are we doing?
it looked really very shallow. Yeah, you know, he's got to fill that up with soil. And all those bottom ones.
So Mel, what will be the height of the soil or the potting soil mix you put in?
How high?
Yeah. So will it be covering all
Oh,
of
yeah.
these?
Part of it. When I finish in a few minutes, I'll be doing that.
Okay.
But it'll look completely different from what you're going to do in a workshop.
Uh-huh.
This is going to look more like a finished display.
Right.